What is reality? Reality is the sum total of all things. Reality encompasses what is. What is only reality. So your entire experience, your entire field of experience right now, internal, external, is reality. Wherever you go, that's reality. And there's a belief within that there's a me that isn't reality, that has to become reality, has to become the absolute. What actually is the individual? What do you mean when you say I? And can whatever you're referring to become enlightened? Can that I realize truth? You know that you exist, you know that you're conscious, you feel alive, you recognize this sentience within you and within the world around you. And it turns out that consciousness and reality are the same. That felt sense of being, we could call it Atma. That self that you are, that is consistent even when the facets of what you believe you are come and go and change. There's always the consistent you. That consciousness attracts identities, it attracts all these things that come and go that aren't fundamental to what you are. And you believe you are those things. Like the self that you are is like the sky, that is always the sky. And then there are these clouds that you focus on and therefore you lose sight of the sky. The clouds are part of the sky. You can't separate the clouds from the actual balloonist of the sky. So even this stuff that isn't not fundamental to yourself, even that is only the self.
Who really are you? I mean, if you drop everything, asking that question is kind of like a character in a dream at night, asking, who am I really? You are dreaming, you are not in the dream. You never actually left your bed, so to speak. And that's the same situation here. You never left the absolute. And because you're reality, because you have ultimate power to dream, it's fully believable that you are this little thing that thinks it has its own individual life separate from everything else. That just shows the power of who you are as reality, the fact that that can even happen. And it's all just taken for granted as, oh, I'm this person going through time and space. But if you're really here without any reference points, without any reference to the past whatsoever, there's no contracted person. You give the fuel to it by looking to the past, looking for past experiences. But it never really happened. Individuality is a figment within this moment. It's not actually a reality in and of itself. It's like flowing that creative force of the universe into a focus point, and then it does seem real. But the advantage there is it never is real. This is the absolute. This can't be other than the absolute. Your experience right now is the absolute. You cannot find yourself anywhere, yet you find yourself everywhere.
You're listening to the Nonduality podcast. This is Nic Higham from nisargayoga.com, and here with me is Paul Dobson. The you that you've dreamed yourself to be is made of the dreamer. The question is, who is the dreamer? Well, it's not the character in the dream, is it? As reality, you are absolutely free, because you are reality, absolutely free, to dream that you're not free, to dream that you are something other than reality. But even that dream that you're something other than reality is made of 100% reality, the one dreamer. So everything is a doorway. And if everything is a doorway, there is no doorway. There's no difference between in and out. That reminds me of something I read in Bhaskakar's pointers from Nisargadatta. I've got it here. A questioner asks, all I want is the grace of the Guru, without which the door will not open to me. And Nisargadatta replies, but should we not find out first whether there is at all a closed door barring your entry? And entry into what? Unless these basic questions are first answered to your own satisfaction, how can we proceed? Therefore, I repeat, after so many years of study, have you been able to find out your true identity? And the questioner replies, all I can say in answer to your question is, I don't know. And Nisargadatta replies, now we are getting somewhere. I don't know. No one has ever spoken words truer than these. Is there a doorway, a closed door barring your entry? There's no closed doors, there's only open doors. On one level, there are lots of barred doors. There are lots of closed doors barring your entry into what you seek: final realization, completeness, fulfillment. On another apparent level, you realize there are no closed doors barring your entry. You can imagine that there are barred doors and work out how to unlock it with some special code or some special key. Yeah, have that dream. You can recognize that every door is open and you can move through any of them and explore this ultimate reality. And you can recognize that there's no need for a doorway. Where else would you go? There's only here and now, and that's equal to the absolute that you are. So it's reconciling the fact that the core of what you are, the I, beyond the I am this, I am that, the I that always is the same, and the ultimate truth are one. All is identical to reality because all is reality.
We create our own little bars and doors, don't we? Just that aren't actually existent yet seem to strengthen with more identification we have with them. I say seem to strengthen, they never really do strengthen. All you've got to do really is see that these things don't exist actually. You are always free. The prison doesn't exist. But if these imaginary prisons are so strong that you really can't, even with your best efforts, and you just can't see it, you can't get yourself out of it, see a therapist. Untangle it a bit, loosen the prison up a little bit, lighten it, make it so you can walk out of it. It's even though there's no prison, why not? That might loosen things enough for you to be able to see clearly what the true situation is. There is never not clarity. This is the paradox. There's never not clarity, but the clarity can become so fogged with these imaginary clouds that you can forget that the clarity's there. You're struggling to see the clarity through the clouds. The clouds aren't actually blocking the clarity, they're made of clarity, but they're so strongly identified with that all you can see is clouds. I don't know the mechanisms of reality or how this works, but there's something going on there where that's become so much of a focus point that you're like, I love the idea of non-duality, but I can't see it. Fine, unravel it a bit, play with it, talk to some people about it, inquire. This is what neti and inquiry is. Not this. We strip back the layers into nothingness and we realize the nothingness is the everythingness. So you go, not this, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my mind, I'm not my body, I'm whatever it is that's perceiving all of those things. Don't stop until you get to that point, basically. So anything that you can see, perceive, feel, touch, smell, anything, subtlest of thoughts, subtlest of sense of self, if it's perceivable, you can say, not this. And then where are you? You literally have you're left with nowhere to stand, because the this that you are isn't graspable in any sense. You can't imagine it, you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't perceive it in any way, yet it is what everything is made of. So once you're left on that kind of groundless ground, so to speak, where there's nowhere to stand, as we've said before, the rug is totally pulled out from under every possible stance you could ever take, then you've got a really good place to be looking at this from. You've got rid of the detritus, the nonsense.
Right, you need to be able to stand back in spaciousness and discern what you're not limited to. That path of negation, that path of discrimination, exclusion, elimination, We're so used to believing that we are limited and only our sense of self, only our self-image. That's all I am. My name, my role, my memories, my possessions, my relationships, my life, my life. I'm not reality. I'm not infinity. I'm a finite individual. With this path of negation, you look at all of what you take yourself to be, and going through each facet of that, you declare, I'm not this. I'm not this. Neti neti. You're left with only the sky, only the Atma. Therefore, you shift your focus from the I am something, someone, to the I. The cloud, the identifications are unreal. They're illusory. Maya. Only consciousness is real. That consciousness is fundamental to what you are because it never changes. The sky never changes. You're always you. But even the clouds are part of the sky. You look up to the sky and you say, well, that's the sky. Or which part are you pointing to? Like the blue bit, the grey bit, the white bit, the sunny bit, the dark bit? No, you say all of it is the sky. You can point to all of this and say, this is life, this is reality. Even the dark bits, the shadowy bits. So that's why I said what I'm not limited to. You are the clouds, you are the identifications, you are these objects. You are them, but you're not limited to any of them. How can anything you're aware of right now hold your fullness? It can't. Nothing can hold infinity. Now here's another kind of switch on the whole thing. No concept can hold infinity. No relative concept can hold the absolute. But the actual isness, the isness of the glass, the isness of the leaf, the isness of anything you're aware of, the isness beyond the concepts, beyond the label, now that is infinity. Those concepts are unreal. But the truth beyond the concept is the only truth there is. And that's you.
Yes, that is the thing, isn't it? Like, the second you say anything, it's not true. The words is like symbols, and what reality is isn't a symbol. And the symbols are based in duality as well. They're always an opposite to the word that you're saying. Paradox is pretty good because it kind of omits the limitations of where we can go with words. It's like you can't say any more than that. You know, I mean, with all of this, you say consciousness, you say isness, awareness, whatever you want to call it, and they're always pointing at something true. But then you can drop those labels because this is like you're saying, the subtlety of it is that the mind will utilize those concepts and come up with an idea, a fake interpretation of what it thinks consciousness is, or what it will always be an object. So you say consciousness, the mind goes, where is this objective consciousness? You know, so you can like use it as a point of it and drop the word and go and just kind of feel into it. There's a poet called Nancy Nyvikut that I quite like reading sometimes, and she said something along the lines of, "It's not even nothing," and it's such a basic statement, but it's not even nothing. You know, I mean, it leaves you with absolutely nowhere to stand, which is your only place to stand. Not even nothing. When there's nowhere left to stand, that's the only place you can stand. So it's not even nothing. Then where are you? If it's not something and it's not nothing, where are you then? That's where we are. Close words are things like infinity, like words like infinity, limitless, beyond nothing and everything. These aren't just like people being weird trying to just be poetic and romantic about it all. It's like, it is literally, you cannot find yourself anywhere, yet you find yourself everywhere. The mind will slide in there and use it as a new position to take on everything. But reality doesn't have a position. That's what it means. Literally, it's unconditional. People don't just say unconditional love as some kind of sweet, loving, romantic idea about what reality is. Oh, it's unconditional love. How lovely. It's literally unconditional. There's no partitioning off and going that bit over there versus that bit over there. It's because it's appearing at all, it's inherently perfect and beautiful beyond those words. And that's the kind of unconditional aspect of it. There's no hierarchy whatsoever. It's a level playing field where it's only the divine. The truth is that everything is, and it's unconditionally equal and loved inherently by reality because it is itself, and not even those words. Because you have an idea of God, you have an idea of what the divine is, what you've read in books. Let go of all of it, because the divine, God, infinity, isn't what you think it to be. It's not something you read about. It is a lived experience. You are it, so you can't possibly read about it and try and interpret it. You can just be it and see it as it is. It's like there's only one balloon and it tangles itself into different shapes. And when you have a glimpse, the tangling of the shapes is seen through. It's all just air. It's like the balloon's like unraveled for a moment and you're like, oh. And there's no difference between me and that tree. It's just the balloon looking at the balloon. You know, like it's like, oh, what we've done is we've twisted ourselves in the center, and I've made this side of a balloon a dog, and this side of a balloon a cat, and this side of a balloon a person, or whatever. And we've taken them to be separate things. It just twisted into different shapes of the same substance. Reality is its own best friend. It knows itself. It's like, oh, it's like seeing it's like the oldest friend you can imagine, and you've known them, you spent so much time with them, you just know them through and through, you spent so much time with them, and you see them in a crowd, and like you like recognize their face, and you're like, wait, do I know that guy? And you're like, oh yes, I absolutely know that person. Like, I don't just know that person, I know that person like more intimately than any other person. And reality's like that. It's the oldest friend to itself because it's timeless, it's beyond time. So when it recognizes itself, it really recognizes itself. There's only God.
Yeah. The nature of the ocean is not wave. The nature of the wave is ocean. There's only ocean. That doesn't mean that the ocean doesn't wave. Yeah, the ocean definitely waves. But the wave is only ocean. Its nature is ocean. Its essence is ocean. The ocean is not defined by the wave. So no matter what is here now, no matter what you're experiencing, and that could be anxiety, the nature of the anxiety definitely isn't anxiety. And it definitely does not mean anything about you, doesn't define you. Your nature is not anxiety. The nature of the anxiety is you. You are awareness, you are experiencing, and you are experiencing this anxiety, and therefore you're not the anxiety, you're the experiencer of it. And maybe you're still left with, well, yeah, I'm witnessing it. Okay, it's not me, but it's still here. So then go into it, delve into it, strip it off its description, and really feel into that energy. See if you can say anything about it, really. You've habitually defined it as anxiety. So that's your definition, anxiety. That's the surface layer, the first tier, you could say, of your experience. When you believe that definition, then there are all sorts of implications and identifications that stem from that definition. The mind will go into, well, what does that mean about me? Well, I'm the anxious one. Got this kind of almost this hypothesis about what that definition implies about you and about your life. So what is a hypothesis? It's a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. That can be a doorway too. The definition can be a doorway. The hypothesis can be a doorway. Go beyond that definition and actually feel into what's there. And just describe it in the most basic way. The symbol of the whole thing. So there's a somatic, energetic feeling. There's a thought. There are maybe images. This whole array of experiences that seems to be associated with this. And then if you analyze those elements, further feel into the rawness of the elements that comprise this experience, you don't find anything like anxiety or an anxious one. It's also benign and neutral at that point. The rawness is known. You unlock its potential. Its deeper nature shines through. It can be anything at that point. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be anxiety. It can be anything. You can call it what you like. You can kind of redesign it, re-know it. So this process is what's known as reverse engineering.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the release of the energy. It's like a kind of like it's freed. Like there's power there. I mean, in anxiety, there's power. Like it's like a real palpable energy that has kind of been misinterpreted by that mind function that has labelled it and called it something, and then it's then believed in, and all this chaos ensues of like horrible stories and pain and suffering just goes from there. And when that's free, essentially it's all made of gold. Taking it out of the shape you've made it into, melting it down to its bare liquid gold, just naked liquid gold. It's all gold. That's all it can ever be made of. And then see it as that. Nothing else needs to be done, actually. The power is released because it's all seen as gold. That is alchemy. I love the reverse engineering example, because that's exactly what it is. You are reverse engineering what you've created, actually. If you just feel with it and be with it, because then you're being totally honest with yourself, totally honest with reality. You're being reality investigating itself honestly. There's this okayness, and that is like the unconditional facticity of the whole thing, where it's neither good nor bad, actually. It's like, is a thunderstorm good or bad? It's not. It's just reality, isn't it? Is the wind good or bad? Is rain good or bad? You might say the rain's good if you don't want rain. You might say the rain's good if you want rain. There's no true perspective there. There's just rain. It's just reality expressing. You could see reality is inherently enjoying itself through all of its expressions, and that includes the unenjoyment. So that's kind of how it's exploring itself in every single way.
The literal meaning of the word Maya is magic. This is a magic show. Reality knows no condition. It's unconditional. If you believe you're an ego or an individual or a person, then you are part of the world of conditionality. And in reality, what you are knows no condition, doesn't even recognize conditions, because reality is non-dual. Yet, at the same time, unconditionally manifests conditions, allows itself to be the world of 10,000 things, including the separate person, allows itself to have that experience. None of it is wrong. It's magic. It's not, it's just illusion that needs to be dispelled. Yeah, within the illusory world, you can absolutely work to dispel your ignorance, but you're doing it as part of the illusory play. So reality is always free. It is not bound by any condition. And reality, Brahman, is the only real factor. All else is unreal, false, illusory, untrue, or at best has a dependent and relative reality. But there's no comparison because there's no duality. So even that's not true. It's not like there's a relative and an absolute. There is this magic show going on, isn't there? And isn't it wonderful? Isn't it exquisite? Isn't it just wondrous and unthinkably rich in apparent meaning, not absolute meaning, apparent meaning. And the fact that meaning can be sculpted out of something that is way beyond any kind of meaning, way beyond any kind of meaning. I mean, in the ultimate meaning is reality, isn't it? The ultimate meaning, but that can't be decoded. That can't be deciphered in language. It can't be translated. And that's why it's said that any translation is Maya, is the magic trick. So this reality that you are shines forth. It manifests, or it launches this existence as we know it For its own amusement, the Hindus use the word Leela, meaning amusement or play. I'm absolutely not negating the fact that sometimes as part of this magic, this dream, there can be great suffering. There can be great sorrow and loss and pain, physical and mental. There can be great fear and striving towards wholeness. All of that has a relative reality. And when you delve into any of that, you only find the absolute reality. Anything is a doorway. This pain, for example, is here to remind you of your ultimate truth, because when you pass through that doorway, pain, and you can only really do that if you see beyond the label, pain, and go into the actual isness of the pain, put aside the word pain. When you delve into that doorway of that energetic appearance, you don't find pain. You don't really find pain. You don't find the one who is in pain. You find this rich, palpable isness of life. And so we're not denying the appearance of things. We're encouraging you to delve into the nature of things.
If it wanted just joy and just bliss and just ecstasy, it wouldn't have manifested into this very, very dense experience of human expression. It wouldn't have manifested that, expressed as that. It just, if that's all it wanted, this is clearly an exploration of itself in all of its forms. And you can notice that at any point. So you can change the perspective on this. You can just be going through some serious pain. There's something in you that will just look at that pain and just go, wow, there's something incredibly rich and beautiful here. And that isn't an intellectual thing, because intellectually you'd look at it and go, fuck this. Yeah, I want this gone. You know, always the position of the ego or the mind will always want it gone. But reality sees everything as equally worthy, equally rich. So, I mean, if you can see in the depths of pain, if you can really be with that and really feel into it, there's something there, and it can't really be put into words. If you're with it, like from that perspective as reality, if you're not just letting the mind just tell you it's shit, if you're just with it, there's something there that you just go, I wouldn't change this. This is something, this is inherently worthwhile.
When you eat a delicious dish of food, it isn't just all sweetness or all savoury. It's also sour, it's also salty, it's also bitter. All of those flavour profiles are needed to make up that dish. If it was all sweet, you wouldn't enjoy it, would you? If it's just complete sweetness, you'd be like, sickly sweet, can't eat this. You need a bit of the saltiness, you need a bit of the sourness, you need the bitterness. You need that too to make up the dish. Our ideal, our innocently mistaken ideal is to pursue only sweetness, for example. But if there was only sweetness, then it wouldn't be sweet for very long. You'd spit it out. In disgust, it would become disgusting. You only want peace, you only want joy, you only want equanimity, you only want whatever. But reality is all of the flavours, like the whole dish of reality is all of the flavours. There's a perfect balance of all the flavour profiles.
Yeah, because it never was anything else. It can't possibly be. This is the absolute. This can't be other than the absolute. Your experience right now is the absolute. And what else is it going to be made of? It's not made of something else that's come from it. If there's only reality, where is it going to get the materials from to make your experience other than itself? So your ignorance, your struggling to get it, your need to meditate, your trying to see it, is all made of reality. The true perspective is seeing and appreciating all of it.